Are you going with a group?
Just us.
That's what everybody's doing.
President Zelensky is insisting they would have to decimate Kyiv in order to control it, defiantly egging them on in a new video saying if that is their goal, let them come. NATO countries now on high alert, but President Biden still firm on not sending U.S. troops into battle.
The idea that we're going to send in offensive equipment and have planes and tanks and trains.
I would watch the news every day. I would see the images coming out of Ukraine and places in that country, and obviously it was something that I wanted to help with if I could. I think a lot of people feel that way. Most people are good people. We see other human beings in need and we want to help. You don't know who to trust, and even charities that seem good, a lot of times they give 80-90% of their money to their own functions, and there are people that sit on the board, and you never really know where your money's going. And I really wanted, I sent some money, but I wanted to do more than that, I guess. As the days kept going on, my urge to help turned into almost guilt, sitting in front of my television in my safe home, and these people are having their lives uprooted and destroyed, and in many cases taken away from them. And I didn't have to worry about any of that. We could debate the politics of war all day long. We could debate the many reasons for war and what should and shouldn't happen, but that's not really the focus here, and it was never my focus. My focus was just always on the millions of people that were displaced so quickly from their homes in a way that we haven't seen since World War II. That many, literally 2 million people in a week or two. We haven't seen anything like that. About a week into the conflict, I said to myself, almost as a joke, I said, well, why don't you go? I started to plan it, and I reached out to Bobby and said, hey, would you want to do this? Thinking that he would say no, but he was into it right from the start and said, yeah, I'd love to go. I'd love to help and be a part. So we started looking at airlines, looking at where to go, what was close to the border. And this was all completely new to us. He's been to Germany as a little kid, but we've never really been to Europe, as adults. And I've never been to Europe, period, or Poland. We don't speak the language. We don't know anything. But it was becoming more and more feasible. Okay guys, well, we are currently in the Toronto airport. Been living in airports now for 2 days, what feels like a lifetime. Exciting, to be in a different country, and we are about to board the flight to Poland. We're about to go for real. Never been to Europe, never been to Poland, and this is gonna be quite the experience, I think. Quite an adventure, but definitely something I want to do. And we're about to get on this 9-hour flight, so here goes nothing. We reached out on social media, and luckily people got back to us. Our driver in Poland was fantastic. He was not only a driver and a guide, but an interpreter and just an incredible, I don't think we could have done it without him. And what I found was that there were a lot of people doing this, a lot of people doing small things. And I saw some comments, on the Life Apollos videos that I didn't really know, that people would be so passionate about, but I saw people, a few negative comments would say, well, what difference does a couple people taking some bags over, what does that do? What does a few $1,000s do? But that's what this war is largely supported by, small things, people driving the supplies to where they're needed, regular citizens doing these things, tons of people doing small things makes a big difference. So luckily, not everyone thinks that way. Luckily, not everyone says, well, my contribution isn't big, so it doesn't make a difference. It does. If our money saves one life, is that worth it? I think so. The other concerns, which I understand, were people that I guess thought maybe I was going over there to fight or something. And war is not fun. War is not how it appears in movies and video games. If people were invading the United States, of course I would fight here. I would have no problem doing it. And if it came to it where we were in Ukraine, where I had to, I would fight there too. But this was not my priority, and I don't think I would be of much help. I don't have that combat experience, and I think a lot of people that even do have some combat experience, this is not going on a deployment with the United States military. This is not a deployment with the full force of an incredibly strong nation like ours. This is guerrilla warfare in a place that you don't know. You don't know the terrain. You don't speak the language. You don't know the culture. So I don't think most people would be of help, to be totally honest, unless you're maybe more special forces. You have that very specific training. The last thing they need is someone who's going to be in the way. Another mouth to feed with food that's very scarce and supplies, and another person to arm and protect with supplies that are very scarce, especially given the fact that it could be an international incident. And I saw some people that were planning to go over, some people that were over wearing United States military uniform. Now, the uniform itself might not be a problem, but I saw the tapes that say, hey, U.S. Army or U.S. Marines or whatever, and I think I would have to advise against that. I don't fault people for wanting to help in that way, but just make sure that you're the right one for it. The last thing that Russia needs is another piece of propaganda handed to them. The big flight is North America to Warsaw, Poland. That's where you're going to go is Warsaw. It's about a 9-hour flight over. You land in Warsaw, and then we decided to take a smaller plane from Warsaw via Polish Airlines to a place called, well, I'll show you the name and on the screen, and you tell me how you think it's pronounced. And this was Bobby's idea, by the way, but I think it'd be very interesting. So pronounce it in your head. Now it's actually pronounced Rzeszów is how you pronounce that airport. So Rzeszów Airport, we landed that evening, and our plan was to go about halfway to kind of Lviv in that area, and be in that area over the border. In Poland, we were about to meet up with our driver, and then we're going to the border. So hopefully everything goes smooth and goes right. Things just continue to escalate. And like we said before, this is not like, it's a story that I wanted to tell, but it's definitely not a joke. And I think a lot of people don't take it as seriously as maybe they should. Really would love to come back and visit in a more normal time, because this place was really cool. And the people, we've met some great people already. And we thought it was going to be pretty safe, given the fact that Russia, up until this point, up until when we left, hadn't touched really at all Western Ukraine.
Breaking news on the war front this morning. Russia has escalated this war in a major way.
Russia expanding their offensive in Western Ukraine. Warplanes fired 30 missiles, 22 intercepted, 8 hitting this military base near the Polish border in Yavoriv. Hearing air raid sirens here overnight and this morning.
An attack close to the Poland border.
Air raid sirens sounded in the early morning dawn light here in Lviv.
Getting over the border was pretty easy. Wasn't anything hard. We had picked a pretty small border crossing because we wanted it to be a little bit more low key, but neither one of us was prepared for what we saw at that small crossing.
During the day, it was
C8 Z06
I don't know, but it was warm. Tak, na chwilę. Jak jest z drugiej strony z powrotem, wie pan?
Nie wiem.
Okay.
Jaka jest kolejka, nie mam pojęcia.
Tam mam tylko spotkać i wrócić. Dzięki.
Wow. That's all they got. Hundreds, if thousands, thousands of refugees, and I would love to tell you guys that I filmed this great video, and my heart was in the right place. My intentions were to film more of a documentary style video because I believe it's a story that should be told. The reason why so many people are passionate about it is because people are over there telling the story.
Yes, I remember when I was crossing from, like 20 years ago, from Czech Republic to Austria. There was like 2 kilometers of land that doesn't belong to Czech
Neither
Republic.
one.
Yeah, and yeah.
You guys can trust me. I'm not a news organization. I'm not a news outlet. I'm just a guy who films. I film cars. So if I show you something, you can trust it. I have no agenda. And I wanted to make that video.
We are coming through the gate right now.
Nie, to nam dali.
Oh, you-
No. To.
Dobra, ale
Yes, black Volkswagen.
Tam w celnika.
Tam musi być?
Tak,
Muszę wrócić?
tak,
Potem-
tak, tak. Do celnika. Ty paszport na odprawę, ty cel na odprawę.
Okay.
But, you know, I was talking to these people and it was very instantly overwhelming to me. And, you know, I'm just gonna be honest, and maybe this will make me look weaker, I don't know. But I couldn't even for 1 second, once I was there, I couldn't even think about grabbing my camera.
Zawrócić, okej.
Although it was for the right reason, I couldn't even think about it. I couldn't even think about it. You know, the truth is that it really affected me in a way that I didn't think it would affect me. You know, I've lost people that I love. My dad passed away a little while ago. My grandfather passed away a little while ago. I'm not really an emotional guy, you know, it's not stuff that most of you probably didn't even know those two things. But I saw these little kids. And you know, they'd be walking along with their little teddy bear or a backpack. And that's probably all they had. And it was just really, Thank God for technology too, because we were able to actually have conversations with people, with the refugees, because of the translator. You can talk and it takes a little bit longer, but it works, and they could understand us, we could understand them. You talk to people. You know, we met one family and they were showing us pictures of and videos of their dogs. Laughing, smiling, and then crying when they realize, you know, that you don't have to ask what happened. A lot of that group there was directly from Kyiv, which is, you know, under siege right now and has seen some heavy losses. And it's real. I mean, it really, like I said, it affected me in a way. I mean, it really truly broke my heart. I mean, even editing this video, because I already I got the footage from the trip before I'm making this, and it was hard to even watch it. But I do think what I got, I think, is still important to share for sure. It breaks your heart. It really does. It really, really does. And I would love to go back and maybe organize something with you guys. I'm sure a lot of you would be. I mean, I got so many people reaching out saying you'd love to donate, and that is what's great, is that, like I said, people do want to help. And now that I have the contacts on the ground, I can know exactly where every donation goes. Like I'm very confident in the setup that we have. We can definitely do that. We're doing these shirts where all the proceeds are going to go probably to another trip. So would like to do it again and hopefully make another small difference. So again, thank you guys for being patient, and normal videos will be back just right after this. Okay, so next day here, and I wanted to take some time to answer a couple of questions that you guys had on Instagram and from other comments that I saw while I was gone, and just some of the common ones. So I did, people said, like, did you get anything cool while you were over there? And of course that wasn't the purpose of the trip, but everywhere I go, I think currency is the coolest souvenir, because it's just cool. It's easy to remember where it's from and everything. So I got I was actually using pretty much all Polish money while I was there because my debit card stopped working. I guess they suspected fraud when they saw the charges from Poland, and I forgot to call them and tell them that I was going, and then I couldn't call them while I was over there. So I had American US dollar with me. So I cashed in like $100, which goes a long way in Poland. Things were very cheap in Poland. I don't think I covered this in the video, but Bobby and I went out to eat one night, and it was a nice restaurant. I got a spaghetti dinner. I had a Coke with it, a drink, and it was like $12 US in Poland. So that was pretty cheap. And then definitely the Ukrainian money was very cool. And I think it's $1 US is like 3,000. No, not. Or 30. I think it's $1 US, I think is $30 in Ukrainian. But it just goes to show you how nice and generous those people were, because like I would hand them a $100 bill and they didn't want to take it. I mean, that's big money there. That will help get a meal, a couple meals, and that goes a long way in Poland too, like I said. But a lot of them would want to trade or at least give something. So I have a couple of little souvenirs here. The coolest one is a 500 bill. I think $100 is $3,000 in Ukrainian. It was really awesome and something that I'll never forget. I'll keep this forever, and it will remind me for the rest of my life of this trip, which is, I think, really important. Also, a lot of people, especially people that know me personally around here, people would say, what are you, crazy? You went over there and it's so dangerous. Honestly, it really wasn't. We weren't in any areas that were, anything can happen, and that's the reality. But I could, I could be out in my car and anything could. I'm sure, I don't know what the exact statistics are, but I'm sure it's more likely you die in a car accident. So it was scary, but we weren't in any, we weren't doing anything crazy. We weren't in any crazy area that had a lot of fighting going on. There were a couple of missile strikes relatively close to where we were. Pretty close for sure, but nothing too wild. So no, I wasn't really scared. I would love to sit here and say I wasn't scared at all, but I definitely was very, I would say scared, anxious, the whole trip over, really, the weird thing. And maybe, if you're like a combat vet, please let me know in the comments, is this something similar to what you felt? Not that, I was going into combat, but the feeling I had was the whole trip, I was kind of scared. I was anxious, I was scared, the plane rides, I was scared, I was, in Poland, I was scared. But once I crossed the border, I wasn't scared anymore. It's just it was that moment, once I was in, I was like, well, that's it. It's out of my hands. So it really wasn't scary. It was weird how it went from being anxious the whole time to then nothing. And I wasn't scared at all anymore. So I don't know if that's a common thing. Gina actually had a great example. She's like, it's kind of like a roller coaster or an airplane. You're afraid in line, you're afraid getting there and getting on, but then once it's going, it's just going, because I guess it's out of your hands. So that was the other thing. And the big one, why did I go? I obviously covered this in the video, but because I wanted to make sure that our donations were going to the right place. A new conflict like this, where it has so much attention from the whole world, opportunity for scammers and whatnot, it's a huge opportunity for them. So I wanted to make sure, I wanted to meet the contacts, make sure the donations and everything were going to the right place, and really make sure that I was at least doing something for real and not just sending money and then that's it, and then I wash my hands of it. And also I wanted to see for myself. I wanted to see what it was really like. And I can confirm that everything you've seen on the news is real, and it's far worse, because that was a small border crossing, and there were hundreds, if not over 1,000 people there. And that was early in the morning, just at that one spot that we were at. So it's, the crisis is much bigger. When you're there, it changes a lot. When you're on the ground there, it's one thing to see it on TV, but it's a whole different world when you're there, and you really start to kind of get an understanding of just how, just the scale of this. So I can confirm that it is real. It's not propaganda. Again, I have no agenda. And it was definitely an experience that I will keep forever. I'll never forget that. And again, I would like to go again. So that's it there. I hope you guys found this video informative. And again, the normal uploads will be back very soon. Thank you.